Yeah. Yeah. Be the container. Be the container. That's going to be the title of this video. Oh, what do you mean by that, Billy? Be the container. What does that mean? I guess I want to parse out certain parts of like the human expression, and I want us to notice that we can play certain roles. We don't always have words for all of these things. Not all of these things have words. We have, you ask someone what they want to be when they're a child or what they want to be when they grow up, and we have words for these careers. We have, but that there are other roles that we play in our societies that don't, and in our families and in our circles and in our little communities. There are roles that we might play that we play them whether we give them words or not. That's what I want to point to. You know what I'm saying? We play them whether we give them words or not. And the actual reality that we're living is much more complex even than the words that we have. But be the container. What am I pointing to? Look, I did a video a couple weeks back on here where I talked about do less. And I think even in the title, I used the word Wu Wei. Wu Wei is a word, it's a concept, it's part of the Taoist philosophy, Chinese Taoist philosophy that it can be translated in a number of ways, but it points to do less. And I talked about doing less in that episode. I talked about our identities and the fact that we the things that we're doing them based off of the information that we have, and that we're doing them based on the identities that we hold and our sense of the world and the identities we inherited from the previous generation. And we're told to play the left versus right game, and some people are told to play the black versus white game. And there are so many other games people are playing that are rooted in a set of definitions. There's so many tensions and fractures and conflicts that we are playing that are rooted in something other than what is true. And that so many of us are moving, we're constantly moving, we're constantly doing, we're also constantly creating, constantly acting, constantly pressing forward. And do less reminds us that we should do less, that there is room to do less. And Wu Wei talks about how the flow of nature and the flow and the balance of nature and the value of doing less. So I talked about that a couple of episodes ago. And since doing that episode, I saw a really great video from a Chinese philosopher who was really challenging the way we talk about Wu Wei. And he was saying that the way it was written in those texts, in the Taoist text, it was written for powerful people. It was written for powerful people. It's a reminder to not over pursue. It's a reminder to not overdo your power. It's a reminder to use your power as well as you can, and that to fall back sometimes. That, you know, this aggressive sort of, you know, our capitalist culture pushes us to keep going. We're watching in the news all the time, these every day they're creating 24/7, you know, just attacking people left and right, and the Democrats and the Republicans and the Muslims and the this and that, and the people in this country, and these labels, and they keep building narratives that are divisive, you know what I mean, and unnecessary. Do less. Wu Wei reminds us to do less. And what I say about be the container is, and I saw this in the same conversation, right? Like, be the container means there's something powerful. The powerful person, the king, the god, they create a container, a space. And if they do a good job of creating a space, that lots of potentialities are possible in that space. You create the boundaries, you create the parameters such that everyone involved can pursue their best interest, can love and build and create and do stuff, and create in ways that you as a person, as a powerful person, that you might not have even thought about, right? But that you allow nature to take its course. You flow with nature by reminding yourself that action is not always necessary. And there's something powerful about being the container. You don't over pursue. You don't try to plan and plot and require and demand and command every part of the thing. You create the container and then you allow things to be. Um, there's something about this, and it's something that I want to share as we talked about um, being a king and being masculine. In my last video, in the last two videos, I really talked about being firm and not having to apologize or not having to explain your choices or your behaviors. It is being confident in yourself, building the narrative of a very masculine, confident approach to this game that we're playing, where you create and you don't feel compelled to have to respond to anyone. You know, you don't have to explain anything. And I want to say that the corollary, I want to the other part of that coin is, you don't want to be this person like an Andrew Tate type figure who they could look at that last couple of videos that I did and just like fully agree. Yeah, you keep going, you keep taking, you try to find, you exploit, you make money and you find women and you exploit and you keep doing and you go. And it's not the case. It's not just the case. A true masculine, fully healed, God consciousness, aware, masculine performance isn't one of dictating all of the time and acting and setting the rules and not being willing to explain, and like just using your power for power's sake because you can, right? This needs to be balanced through the principle of Wu Wei, through doing less. And it's balanced through choosing to be the container rather than trying to dictate all the details. It's an over control to think that you can plan it all and execute it all and you can tell other people how to be and you can take action. I believe in taking massive action towards your goals, massive action towards your vision. I believe in envisioning a version of the self and then embodying it. And how do I know I'm embodying it? By taking serious, massive action. And so again, in the last videos, we talked about that, and we talked about that there's no need to explain. And there truly isn't. But there's real power in the fullness of your condition, this masculine, creative potential that you have. What Andrew Tate misses, what so many of these like super uber so-called alpha masculine men miss, is that they take this principle and they over control, they overact. This creates an imbalance, and it creates a whole bunch of potential challenges. Power wielded by wisdom includes the capacity to fall back, the capacity to do less. And when we say do less, like what do you do less of and shit like this? Like for me, I found this interesting an interesting way to think about it is I'm doing less by being the container. And so I have an amazing wife who is really talented, and I'm so proud of her. She's so beautiful and wise and brilliant, and she's wild. she's really smart. She's her own self in a very powerful way. And she started doing stand-up comedy several years ago, and I didn't expect her to do stand-up, and I didn't expect her to do it the way she did. Like, she was so commanding on stage, and she would get into some of the stuff she would get into was like our related to us and dating, and I found it really powerful to let her rock. I feel like there's a masculine playbook that would say that you need to control that somehow. You need to limit her. Not just in that way, but in several ways. We're taught to limit our wives and our partners, and also just so that's in our relationships, but in the world in general. Like, Be the container. Learn to let go. Learn to create something so powerful and so flexible and so interesting and ornate and so powerful that it has room. It leaves room. It's big enough to allow and engage with a full spectrum of stuff. That's what a powerful, you know what I'm saying? That's what a powerful creation would do. It doesn't try to dominate and control. It doesn't set limits because as an individual, your limits are valuable and they're worth, you know what I'm saying, asserting. Um, but that you don't know the limits of the human condition. You don't know the limits of what's possible. And you actually harm yourself. You actually harm whatever you're creating by being incredibly rigid. Um, you actually limit the potential by thinking that you can dictate every single bit of it. If you were running a business, they would say you need to delegate. You need to delegate, you know what I'm saying, like responsibility and things like this. But whatever you're creating has the greatest growth potential, I believe, in my experience, as a former business owner and as a husband and as a black man and as a philosopher and as a creative. I want to be the container. I want to set the boundaries and the parameters, and make sure that they're flexible enough to allow nature to take its course, and that the even the container itself is not only is it flexible, it can grow, it can it's malleable, it's creative, it can take note of nature and engage with it rather than fighting it. you know this goes to a deeper conversation about control and all of that. But one of the biggest problems, I think, in some of the masculine discourse, certainly in the shitty manosphere world, is there's a commitment for control over there, and it's actually not as masculine as they think it is. These guys think that the ability to assert control, or the performance of control, the ability to look like you're in control of things, is a really powerful flex. And I contend that it's not. It's actually harmful to your vision. Um, and it runs counter to nature, and you can tucker yourself out trying to do all that. Find a lot of peace in being the container. And I think that's where the creative sweet spot is too. Creative sweet spot is you create and secure a safe space, a bold and creative and open and flexible container within which anything is possible. All kinds of things are possible. People are encouraged to be their full selves. People are encouraged to express fully and to throw in their ideas, and that all things are possible. And saying that you get the best of it. And that's where the power is. That to me is a really interesting and powerful expression of masculinity. So I'm sharing that with you. And we have 14 minutes. Check out the rest of my YouTube. Check out these videos. We talk about quite a lot on this YouTube channel. And I'm grateful for the many new subscribers we've had in the last couple of months, actually. So welcome, everybody. I see the God in you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.